Hello again, this is luckyDminor with my very first all 2300 plus game. So I'm quite of nervous, I have been when I played this, and this is my first review about it. I was very scared to drop below 2300 very fast, and I tried my best to at least not get fourth place. But of course also I wanted to play for win. And so let's see what you possibly think about my game. Some of the players in the end called me an idiot and said I play trash in the chat. Of course, I didn't like that comment, but maybe you have your own opinion about it. So I opened with the king's pawn, and blue opens with the bishop's pawn and immediately attacks that pawn here. Yellow with the king's pawn and green also with the bishop's pawn. So I figured I'd bring out my queen in order to be able to support a double attack here on that side in the next move. And I even let my pawn hanging here against that queen, somehow sensing that the threat for blue is much bigger than the threat for me here. So blue's not taking the pawn, just making a small step with the queen, but now of course also threatening together with green to take there. Yellow defends and attacks the blue queen. Okay, green plays with the knight, and here I see my first mistake. Since the blue queen is attacked, I could have sacked my bishop here. Didn't see that in the game. So I just continued my original plan. Well, maybe that's not even a mistake, because that threat is at least as big as it can get for blue. Would be checkmate if it happens. So blue has to do something about it. So blue sacks his queen here anyway. And yellow can take it, but of course opens his queen for trades here. And it happens. So both blue and green queen get lost very fast. And I'm kind of seeing that as a success here on my side. Of course, yellow also loses his queen. I develop my pawn and want to block it to the blue side, to my left side. And blue opens an attack on that pawn. Yellow, of course, takes that queen. And green attacks my queen. I figured at this point I have to protect that pawn in order to support my opposite. And so I just moved my queen a step. Blue, of course, cannot take the pawn, just develops his knight. Yellow still leaves his pawn undefended, only defended by myself, and attacks blue here. I do not see immediately how I can support that attack. Green develops the bishop, attacks that yellow pawn. And I'm completing my pawn structure here and opening a diagonal for my bishop in order to stop blue from doing the same. And blue takes, creates a double pawn there. And yellow develops the knight. Okay, green takes the undefended pawn. And I develop immediately my other bishop in order to attack that undefended pawn. Blue attacks the yellow knight. The knight moves away, attacks the green bishop, and the green bishop comes back, has to come back to defend that pawn. So far, I believe everything went fine from my perspective. I develop my knight, blue develops the rook, yellow pushes some pawn and opens the field for his bishop to develop. Green attacks my queen. I do not want to go over to the left side. I do not want to have blue attacking my queen. But with green attacking it, I'm kind of okay since I can immediately react. In this case, I move back, have an eye on that pawn here, but no immediate threat for green. And blue comes out with the rook. Attacking that pawn, which is defended. Don't know what he plans there, honestly. Well, maybe a double attack together with green once green moves that knight. Okay. Okay, yellow attacks blue. Green attacks my queen, so I have to move the queen. Can I like attack blue somehow to support yellow's attack here? Not really, no pieces I could attack with my queen here. So I just move back, bring my queen somewhat to safety. I do not want to be attacked in every move. Also, of course, attack that knight here and open a diagonal towards the king for future opportunities. Okay. Blue brings back the rook, possibly planning a sacrifice here or there to open our king's position. Okay, yellow pushes more pawns, opens a diagonal here. Maybe a little too open his position. And green blocks my bishop's diagonal here. So I move that bishop and develop it somewhere else. And I figured that defending that pawn, which may be a source of attack for the blue rook, may be a good idea. Okay, blue opens a bishop's diagonal, now has two attacks on that knight. And yellow pushes even more pawns. Maybe wants to attack the green position with his pawns. And green threatens a disclosed attack to my knight and my queen, so I have to move. And here again, I bring my queen out in order to have an eye on that king, in order to have an additional support for that knight. Of course, I could have also taken that knight here, but would of course be stupid in a high-ranking game where yellow and red are supposed to team at least for a while. So blue does not take, develops his bishop, has an eye on my pawn here, no immediate threat. And yellow really attacks the green pawn, but leaves his king very much in the open there for green attacks that may then be supported by blue here. So I believe that's kind of a mistake on yellow's side. And green immediately takes the chance. So what can I do here? Can I stop blue from attacking yellow now? Ooh, I could sack my bishop. Blue would possibly then take it and leave yellow unattacked. He could also take with the rook and bring his rook away from that diagonal and threaten the next take in the next move and just leave my bishop here. So I'm not so sure about that. So I do not want to sacrifice. I just bring out my pawn, preparing an attack on that knight possibly. And blue really takes that knight. Yellow cannot retake, has to move his king. And green again checks yellow. So here I was kind of panicking. I was thinking yellow will lose it very fast if I do not support him. I was urgently seeking for any ways to support him, and I made this. I sacrificed my queen, took the blue rook in order to help yellow. I mean, after the game, yellow called me an idiot. I don't know why. I made stronger mistakes later, but definitely that was not. I mean, it was a mistake, possibly. I should have possibly kept my queen and just let it happen there. But I wanted to keep yellow in the game. And of course, I lose my queen. Of course, unfortunately, yellow cannot take the bishop because he's in check again. So he moves away, but still the bishop is threatened. Green just moves a pawn. And I continued my development with a knight move. So maybe you want to write in the comments how you think about this queen sacrifice, whether it was on point or maybe wasted or unnecessary or stupid. I don't know. Eager to hear your feedback. So at this point, yellow has 18 points, green 10, blue 18, I'm only 5. I'm of course also starting to get a little worried to get fourth place if I continue sacrificing my items and don't earn any points with it. But still, I'm having a very secure king position, a good structure with my pawns, and still as much material as blue and green. So I'm still quite okay with that. Oh yeah, I wasn't seeing that. I could have, instead of the knight's move, I could have taken that pawn and then win that rook. I haven't seen that. That was a mistake. So blue comes back to defend, and yellow continues the attack on green. Okay, and I thought I want to support yellow with that attack, so I push my pawn attacking the green knight. Blue comes over, not immediately threatening that pawn. That pawn is defended, but I do not want to have that knight there for long. It bothers me. Okay. Yellow takes, knowing that I can take also the knight. Green takes back, creates a double pawn there, and I take that knight and blue pushes a pawn. So I guess that was okay for us to win 2 pieces for 1 piece, especially since the knight can continue the attack here. Green brings his bishop in safety and takes the pawn, of course, and also threatens to take that undefended pawn here. But I was thinking at this point, if green takes, I can just move my rook and counterattack that bishop, and my king is still safe. So I'm willing to leave that, to lose that pawn there. I much rather take that knight, and of course blue takes. And you may say that a knight is better, a bishop is worth more, especially in the endgame, than a knight. But I really like knights, and I hate knights that are bothering me. And what I like especially is that pawn structure here, which is kind of blocking that bishop completely out of my positions. I have a very safe space here for my king. And I found that more important than this pawn on the other side. Okay, yellow connects his rooks, brings his king more into the play. Green castles for king safety, and I protect my pawn so I don't even lose it, and I can protect it. So at this point again, I'm very happy with my king safety. I'm very happy with my pawn structure. And I'm a little worried about yellow, who's quite open there. But since the queens are from the board, it may even be okay. So we're getting closer to a kind of rook ending here. Blue is attacking the yellow pawn structure and of course threatening the king safety of yellow. And yellow makes a smart move to just block that and not take. Green comes and attacks the very same rook, pawn. And I thought it's a good idea here to attack green. So either green takes or green doesn't take. I can take in the next move, and then if green retakes, his king safety is ruined. So I believe he would not even take. He would possibly just move that pawn to keep up his king safety. But I force him to make a move. Blue pushes another pawn there. Yellow prepares a pawn push with rook support, and green makes the expected move. So I was kind of hoping here that yellow would maybe even sacrifice his knight here for me to attack the green king so that the green king comes in the open. But of course, since yellow is down in material, sacking his most active piece here would not be possibly a good idea. So I can completely understand that he doesn't. So I develop my bishop. I want to protect that pawn so that my rook is free to move, maybe in the open file here. And also I want to have an eye on that knight to have some possibility to attack blue if yellow would also attack him. And also possibly with ideas of moving the rook here and at some point there, and then with this pawn being pinned, attacking that knight. So just a small development move here. Okay, funny pawn structure. pawn structure there. Yellow's seeking his luck in possibly creating a queen. Green is moving his king. Well, I believe in order to avoid any checks from green there, from yellow. And I develop my pawn to protect that bishop, to get a little closer for some promotion at some point, and to have all those pawns defend each other. Okay, blue developing the rook. I do not believe that he wants to attack green here. I think we are still somehow in a opposites team play mode. And yellow moves back with his rook. Either he does not know what else to do, or possibly he thinks of attacking the pawns from behind. Oh, well, cannot in this moment. Possibly coming over here to, well, also not possible now. So no, not many fields here for the rook. Possibly he wants to go here, attack that pawn, have an additional eye on that bishop, knight, sorry. Okay, let's see. Okay, does green want to get rid of that annoying knight? Possibly he's willing to sacrifice his bishop. Especially since he's a hard time to develop that bishop. He cannot push that pawn because that rook may take. He cannot push that pawn because the knight or bishop could take. So he possibly figures that he just trades his knight and gets rid of that knight, that his bishop gets rid of that knight. So I move forward in order to protect my pawn and to bring my king maybe even more into safety and to connect my rooks here. Okay, yellow left that pawn undefended. Not sure if it was intentional or a blunder. Let's see. Okay, he comes out with his rook now. He threatens a check there. His field is protected, but maybe I can do damage while he's checking. Yeah, I could just take that knight while he is checking. Okay. Green does the trade, and I keep my bishop on this diagonal in order to keep that threat alive. I do an additional attack with my knight on that pawn and then also possibly that rook. So if that check would happen and for some reason I do not need to take that knight, I have more options here. And the king moves away in order to protect that pawn and avoid that check. Okay, good move. Yellow has time to retake that bishop, which is good, and also threatens to take that pawn and really kind of ruining the pawn structure then with green, who would then have a double pawn and an isolated pawn. Good thing. Green pushes possibly to stop that pawn from promotion or having a chance to promote himself. And I close that diagonal to have king safety, even though it would take some moves by blue. But I was thinking possibly that pawn attacks my knight, and then if the king moves somewhere, that bishop can attack my king. So I wanted to prevent that from happening. Okay, I didn't see that coming. Since that pawn is protecting the bishop, he can give another check. And the king has to move. And here's another check on yellow. So again, I'm thinking, can I support yellow somehow? Because I do not want to have him die early here. So of course I could sack my knight. I could trade the knight for the bishop. Is there an immediate threat that blue has towards yellow? Oh yes, he can double that check, but the king can just move. Yeah, he can move his knight and attack the yellow rook there. Okay, I haven't thought so deep during the game, had not have the time for that. So I stayed just developing my knight here, threatening a possible check on green, but did not sacrifice my bishop for the knight there. Possibly I should have done that. Would possibly have been the better move. Then blue would have a double pawn here, isolated double pawn, another isolated double pawn. I think it would have been worthwhile. I didn't do it. Sorry, yellow. And blue really attacks that rook. Yellow moves away. Green brings his king back into safety now that there's no knight anymore threatening a check from there. And I just try to protect that rook now. It's a little late, but at least if blue wants to take it, he will lose his knight. And he really takes it. And yellow retakes a pawn in the center. That's good. Green retakes. And I retake that knight. So at this point, of course, yellow is having material problems. Only one rook left. Possibly one pawn that can promote but will be stopped by green, so no big hopes there. Green, blue, and red are all having close to the same material. I'm the material leader, but still I'm very much, well, not too much behind in points. So blue attacks my bishop. Yellow retakes a pawn. And green completes his king position there. I have to move my bishop. Okay, some moves here happening, just developing, preparing for the end game. I move my king over in order to protect that pawn, so I am free with my rook to come out. My knight gets attacked. And another check on yellow. So yellow is way too often offering his king for checks here. Okay, I'm attacking that pawn with a threat of a check, so I wanted to at least give some counterplay against blue to support yellow here. But I was hanging my bishop. I was not seeing that. The knight protected my undefended bishop, and I just moved away. So stupid mistake, losing material just because I thought I need to somehow create something against blue to support yellow here. So I lose my bishop even with another check on yellow, so this was really not helping yellow at all. Moves his king on a field where it can be checked again. Yeah, no other chance at this point for well, could have gone here, then green pawn would, well, maybe that field would have even been better for the king in this situation. But, well, then there would be check. So, no good field there. So there is a check, so I take and check blue for some additional counterplay here. Yellow brings in his rook, and green sacrifices his bishop or trades his bishop in order to give another check. I attack the blue bishop, and the bishop gives another check on yellow. Okay, so yellow cannot retake green here. Moves away close to the corner, maybe gets cornered there. Green activates his rook, and I activate my rook in order to attack that pawn and distract green a little. Oh, there's another check coming from the so long passive blue white bishop. And red is, did he resign? I'm not sure if he resigned. I think he resigned, yes. Okay. So that is possibly helpful if green now takes blue, but he doesn't. He could have taken that bishop now. Since now that we are only 3 players left, blue is the point leader. I'm only 3rd place here. Blue has 2 bishops and a rook, 2 rooks and a bishop on green side, and 2 rooks and 2 knights on the red side. So my pawn structure is better, my king safety is better, and I have an additional knight. So material-wise, I'm the strongest player here now, and maybe it makes sense for blue and green to keep teaming against me. The bishop is now attacking that pawn here. If green would have just taken that blue bishop, he would possibly be in danger that blue is counterattacking him. So maybe it's smart for him not to do it. So I develop my pawn and protect my other pawn. And blue is also, of course, not trading. Bringing back his bishop, possibly wants to open a field here at some point for his pawns. And green protects his pawn and is now free to start going for promotion. I bring in my second rook in order to possibly push that pawn. My knight gets attacked. And green continues to push. So here, do I want to trade? I don't think so. Then blue would get rid of his double pawn and would have an easy path for promotion behind those gray pawns there. So I do not want to trade. But I have to move my knight. I mean the other knight. So another mistake. So there were quite many small mistakes here in the game that I made. Like a king sacrifice, possibly mistake. I don't know. Not supporting yellow when I could trade in order to support him and save his rook. here, leaving my knight undefended. So quite many mistakes, and my bishop was undefended there a few moments ago. So I made many mistakes. But I'm still doing good. So somebody else must have made bigger mistakes here. Okay, so I lose my knight, and I attack green here. So I attack that pawn, basically hoping that blue would maybe even take. I also attack that bishop, but that's protected. I possibly do not want to trade away my knight, and I do not want to let those double pawns become separate pawns anymore. Again, I also threaten a check here, so I found that is a very powerful place for my knight. Yes, I'm attacking green. Even though blue is the point leader here, I'm attacking green because I think that that pawn and a possible queen is kind of giving him some advantage here. Okay, and here blue decides to join my attack. And sacrifices his bishop in order to break open the green king. So here I, of course, want to join forces with blue. So far he's not far away in points. And I'm the material leader, possibly, and can still win this. Well, I'm not the material leader anymore. I only have a better king safety. But I have a rook more than blue does. So I thought I continue the attack on green, threaten to take that rook. Maybe I should have just taken that pawn here. I was just a moment ago, I was speaking about the threat that the pawn would be becoming a queen. And maybe just taking that pawn would have been a better decision here. I was kind of scared that blue would leave me alone and then the green rook would retake. So, okay. And there's the bishop move that opens up the blue pawns for promotion. Green is attacking the yellow king. Well, also protecting that pawn. And here I switched from attacking green to attacking blue. Not sure if that was another mistake. He had to move his rook, but I also wanted to develop my pawn here. And since now here are possible promotions happening, I was not sure whom to really support here and who not. So I went to and fro, which may sometimes be good, but sometimes be a bad mistake. Okay. Green pushes the pawn, and here I was thinking, should I take that pawn to finally bring the green king in trouble here, being completely in the open. But I figured if blue moves away, green will just take me. And even if blue does not move away, since green has two attacks here going, he would possibly take me with that rook anyway. So I left the pawn alone and just developed my other pawn in order to have also some potential for promotion. Okay, bishop moves away so that pawns can move. Also threatens to take that pawn here, but that would kind of even more weaken the green's position, also attacking that rook. So I figured blue taking that pawn is not a problem for me. Okay, and here green makes a mistake. He pushes his pawn, but leaves the yellow king for blue to grab. And since blue is already the point leader, he's then 58 points, kind of far away. But of course, green wants to create a queen. I just push. Had no chance to distract blue really here, and blue takes. So I believe that move of green is kind of the first stone in possibly blue winning in the end. Especially for me, it's pretty hard to reach him. So if I earned 40 points for checkmating both of them, I'm 55. So I'm still behind. So I have to earn material and check them both. So big challenge, but let's see. Green gets his queen, and now suddenly green is the clear material leader here, having one queen, two rooks, a bishop, and still a few pawns. So I have only two rooks and a knight. So he's basically a queen up. I have a few more pawns, and I have a better king safety. But that's another issue here for myself. So I could support green against blue because blue is the point leader. But then I lose against green because he's the material leader. So what am I to do here? So I bring my rook in, I double the attack here, still double defended, but you will also have seen it. I made another mistake. I just sacrifice, I mean, it's not sacrifice, it's a blunder. I blunder my rook there. So yes, another mistake. And blue is going for a queen too. I lose my rook. I just bring my rook over in order to protect my king while that queen would come down. And blue gets a queen. So one mistake later, and suddenly blue and green are the combined material leaders here, and I'm the weakest player, not only in points, but also in material now. So now I'm really getting scared because I still have to earn 13 points just in order to not be forced player, not forced position here. So how do I, with only a rook and a knight left, earn 13 points and still have a hope to win here? So in this moment, I'm only thinking about how do I get third place, and I'm not thinking about first or second anymore. But of course, since I'm so weak now, the partnership between green and blue is completely over, and green immediately attacks blue, gives a check. Unfortunately, I do not have an attack on blue at this moment, so I can't really support that. I just move my king over. And blue offers a queen straight, and he's doing it. Okay, so that gives me hope. So after those queens are traded away, my material disadvantage is not so bad anymore. I'm kind of better than blue, a little worse than yellow, but have a better king safety and more pawns and more promotion chances. So I'm back in the game. Not sure why green traded queens here. If I would have been green, I would have avoided that. Okay, he's going all in against blue. So he's playing like, blue, you're the point leader, I attack you, I will get red support. But he's kind of seeing that I don't have support in the moment. My knight is far away, my rook is behind my pawns. What can I do? So I push my pawn and at least try to possibly make a queen here to do something. Blue takes that green rook. Maybe earlier I could have possibly here I could have possibly brought my rook over so that I'm able in the next move to give a check, but giving a check from here where green can take, I'm scared about that. Also leaving my pawn undefended against that rook, I'm scared about that. So I just move my pawn. Green loses a rook, brings over his rook, attacks my knight now, but possibly hopes for a disclosed attack on the blue king. So I don't believe that he's attacking me here. I don't see it, and I'm just scared. So I take that pawn and I do not keep the tension. If I kept the tension, possibly if blue would not have moved his rook, but blue's a good player, he would possibly have seen it and moved that rook anyway, and then I would possibly lose my knight. So I moved away, and blue brings his king back. And here now, again, green starts to attack me. Maybe he's annoyed that I'm not supporting him as much as he wanted to, but I felt like I could not really do it. So I bring my knight, and again, I'm very happy about my king safety and pawn structure here. It's all connected. And blue goes for the next promotion. Green tries to stop him. I go for promotion. Green stops blue. I continue to go. Oh, and blue has a sidestep for promotion. Could I have stopped him? No, no way to stop him for myself. So blue creates the queen. And green has a double attack on my pawn. Also, blue attacks that. Blue is not taking, but I'm just protecting that pawn. I was thinking about pushing it, promote to a queen, but I was scared that blue would trade against my queen. So I just decided to protect my pawn. And I was pretty sure that nobody was sacrificing a piece just for my pawn here. But again, I made a mistake. So is it the third, the fourth, the fifth small mistake I made here? Well, small mistake. It's a blunder of a knight in the endgame. It's a big mistake. Green is moving back, and at this point I decided now I have to go. I have to do something before I lose that pawn anyway. Just promote and hope that blue doesn't trade his rook. I do it with a check on the green king, which increases my hope, because now possibly blue has a chance to attack the green rook and therefore leaves my queen alive. But he decides differently. He just attacks my king and hopes that green would possibly somehow also attack me. But green has not a good move there, just moves his king. I can bring my king into safety. Luckily, there's no second check that blue can give. And blue again decides to attack green. And he does so even though his rook is hanging. So why is he doing that? Well, maybe he thought if he takes my queen, blue is again the strongest player on the board, the only strongest player on the board, and green and red would possibly do everything to take advantage over him. I'm not sure. He could just have moved his queen back and protect that rook, or move that rook over for his own safety somehow. Maybe he didn't see it, maybe he didn't care, I'm not sure. So he just attacks green. Maybe he was thinking green being 41 points is the bigger threat, and he thought that I'm no threat at all anymore for him. So he just wanted to go against green. Okay, green moves, and I take that blue rook with a check. And green takes that pawn, which is defended by the king, but the rook is defended by my queen. And so I don't want to move away my queen. I still hope. I have 21 points. And if I can win this game, I earn 40, which is 61. And if I can take a few more items, I can still win this game. So I do not want to let green die. I do not want to let blue take that rook. So I keep my queen there to protect that rook. And I rather attack that queen so that green possibly has a chance to give another check, or just move away with his rook so that it's a disclosed check and I can just take that king. But of course green possibly would not want to do that, because then I have 41 points and I'm the strongest player on the board now, and green would be third place, so he possibly does not even want to move his rook away, because I could then just take the blue king, as I said. And what is blue doing? Blue is seeing the danger, giving a check on green so that green cannot even move the rook away, and sacrifice or trading his queen for my rook. So of course, well, I would have taken that queen now, but then the blue king would have taken that rook, so not a good thing for green. So green may have thought that he just attacks that that blue queen. So I have to move away my queen, and I still keep the protection for that rook. I do not want to have that rook die. And also I want to have a field where I can check myself. But yeah, I'm not sure. Possibly I should have, instead of that move, I should possibly have made that move. So I could have protected that pawn also. I didn't see that. So yeah, sorry green, maybe would have been smarter. So blue takes with another check, and therefore green again cannot take his rook away, is forced to move his king, but now I can give a check. But of course I leave the rook alone with that check. Maybe that was another mistake by myself. I was kind of thinking then green could attack the queen, but that was possibly, of course, the false timing here, since blue moves first. But otherwise, I believe blue could have a permanent check on the green king, or could have even just gave a check from there and then take the green rook. So there was no real way here that I could see. So I just gave the check and the green rook is gone. Green attacks the blue queen and I can give another check, and now finally we get rid of that blue queen. Blue immediately resigns in order to stop me from getting any more points for any pawns I could take possibly. Smart move, since I'm 21 if I made both, I'm 61. I'm still missing 18 points to reach blue. Are there 18 points on the board? No, there's a few points only. So at this point I cannot win anymore. So at this point I have to play for second. It's over. And of course, with my material advantage, it's no difficulty. A check, a take, another check, a take, and here also green resigns. And then, as I said in the chat, yellow was calling me an idiot. I thought I really supported him as best as I could, even though I made a few mistakes. And green was calling me trash and said I would play for second. Actually, I don't see that. Maybe you write in the comments how you think about it. I want to have your feedback here. Yes, I made many mistakes, but for my first game with all players over 2300, I thought I was doing great. I was the last man standing here, and I nearly got to win against blue, but there simply was a too big distance for me to reach him. So thank you for watching, and please comment. Have a nice day. Bye bye.